Hey y'all. Um, it's been a while. I'm Mary, uh, or Hawk if you want to refer to me as that based off my username. It's been a while. I'm definitely very trepidatious about posting this or filming this, and it's gonna be rambly and likely involve a lot of repetition. It is what it is. That's what you get with me when you watch my channel. And I've been taking a lot of time away for my own personal mental health and also growth, like offline. Admittedly, I have been chronically online for a lot of my life in ways that aren't always healthy. And I think taking the time, and I'm still going to be doing this in the future, to take a step back and be patient and not impulsively post is important. I really don't like that I have been performative in some ways in my impact and the ways I show up. Definitely. And coming to terms with that and not impulsively posting, I think on the whole is a good thing. And also, I recognize that sharing my voice is still important to one degree or another. Um, it is both. Even though I may very much wrestle with black and white thinking, in part, yes, due to my autism, and also the internet doesn't exactly like nuance, and black and white thinking is very much, for better or for worse, not always for the better, the standard online, in online spaces, especially lately. Let's be real here. That's how I've noticed it, and oh boy, yeah, it definitely does a number on me, especially with regards to how I perceive the world and form my own opinions and move through it is definitely not helped by black people like having to acknowledge or working on acknowledging the duality and complexity not only within myself but within others and in the world is complicated. A lot of things are true at the same time, even if they're seemingly contradictory in nature. Like it's a both and I'm trying to work on articulating that and understanding when that is the case, while also not absolving myself and or systems or others or the ways in which I show up and engage with others in the world of responsibility or needing to do better. Um, Honestly, the intention I have with filming and posting this is to not only get used to filming again, but to inspire reflection and growth for those who may benefit or resonate with what I'm saying. Or not. I understand that there very well may be individuals here watching that don't understand anything that I'm doing. They're like, what are you talking about? Please come with concise points. You're not gonna get that from me in this video. Is what it is. You don't have to like it. Honestly, I know that I have often felt inspired to grow as an individual and look within and confront ugly truths that I wish weren't true um, when it comes to watching other people's videos on social media, especially YouTube, or reading posts on sites like Threads or social media platforms like Threads. I definitely feel inspired to grow as an individual and to do better and to consider other perspectives and the ways in which my impact doesn't always necessarily align with my intention, or times when I need to seriously take a step back and acknowledge when and how I have impacted others in harmful ways or engaged in ways that are rooted in, unfortunately, socially normalized but still systemic harm, especially with regards to supremacy culture. That is something that I am actively working through and likely will be my entire life. I am definitely noticing how life and others and the ways in which situations happen, their circumstances test my resolve and commitment. And I absolutely feel frustration when my impact doesn't always align with where I want to be morally, where I want to be as a person when it comes to advocating for love, for people to not scapegoat one another, for people to be critical of harmful yet socially accepted status quos. Harmful status quos in the ways in which they have internalized beliefs that they've been indoctrinated with by their loved ones, even by their culture, intentionally or not. And something that I'm wrestling with, a lot of this video is coming from a it taking one to know one um, perspective or approach, because honestly, I'm not a paragon of morality. I have said and done and perpetuated harmful beliefs, not only towards myself, but towards others, and I'm not proud of that. And also, I know that being shameful in the sense of like not progressing forward or just doubling down in the harm that I've done doesn't benefit myself or help me to be the version of myself that I want to see in the world, to be the change that I want to see in the world. It doesn't help me. It only seems to benefit the very systems and status quos that I am not okay with. These exploitative. How do you exploitative? How do I articulate? You get what I'm saying. Exploitative, dehumanizing, bigoted, racist, dehumanizing, ableist, transphobic. I mean, all the misogynistic status quo. I mean, having to wrestle with the ways in which I have internalized these forms of hatred and bigotry as somebody who, yes, is a white person in America, whether I like it or not, I absolutely have been brought up on or indoctrinated to believe beliefs that are harmful, that are rooted in harm and rooted in supremacy culture, including white supremacy culture. Absolutely, societally speaking, yeah, and even from people who may not necessarily want to agree with it or may think they disagree. They may disagree and also have aspects within themselves that still carry out that harm. Myself included, by the way. Myself included. I've done that very thing, and that's how I'm aware of that. I recognize the patterns not only within myself, but within the world around me, and I feel complicated when I don't speak out. I mean, as of posting this, I mean, honestly, I'm very nervous and sad. I feel like a lot of these words are ringing hollow and don't fully describe the depths of my emotions and feelings, complicated as they may be with regards to the atrocities that have been unfolding against the people of Iran, against Lebanese people, against Palestinians, against indigenous peoples around the world, against black people, against trans people, against all sorts of marginalized individuals, for Latin people. I mean, the anger and frustration that I feel is strong. And also, I can recognize that I have felt complicated in posting, whereas previously I have not, because I'm not certain if my impact is performative. I'm not sure how else to articulate that. I know it certainly has been previously, and that's why I've been hesitant to say things, even though I really do need to speak up. And I believe that silence is complicity to a degree. Yes, it is, absolutely. Especially when it comes to these systems of harm and perpetuating them and perpetuating these beliefs that too many of us are indoctrinated to believe, including about ourselves, including about groups of people that we fit into in terms of marginalizations. I mean, yeah, I definitely have internalized ableism. I have for quite some time, ever since I was little. And yeah, unlearning a lot of that and learning to love myself and to show up in ways that I wish the world would be like. I need to be the change I want to see in the world, and that means confronting ugly truths about the ways in which I show up and the beliefs that I have, even beliefs that I wish I didn't have, that I may be against and still have them internalized, and they are reflected in my actions in the ways that in which I show up. They're ugly truths, but they're still true even when I wish they weren't. And I absolutely feel frustration with how my intent and impact don't always align. And often, at least from what I've observed for myself, these frustrating and upsetting, rightfully so. I'm definitely frustrated with the ways in which I've shown up or not. Um, Maybe feel frustration and also realize that that can fuel and motivate me to do better. I feel frustrated, and also I'm not going to let frustration with not necessarily acting or showing up in ways that are aligned with my beliefs or beliefs that I hold dear, that resonate, that I know for me to be true. Fighting against fascism, fighting against beliefs that call for extermination or genocide of entire groups of people, against eugenics based beliefs, against imperialism. Even though, yes, they unfortunately hold a lot of claim in the ways that people show up, in their hearts, in the ways that they are, and it's not comfortable. It really isn't. Yeah, I know that it is worth it for me to continue to show up and do the work, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it involves confronting harmful impacts. And honestly, yeah, like, I have hesitated to post because in the past, I have absolutely been performative despite my best intentions. I have centered myself in times that I am not necessarily needing to, and it's frustrating. This video could even be seen as that. I'm not even entirely sure, but at the same time, I'm hoping that by posting this, perhaps I could inspire a sense of self reflection, or the parts that resonate might help people to make whatever changes they might personally need to in the ways that they need to. I can't guarantee what it looks like for you. Might inspire some change. And yeah, growth begets growing pains. It's not comfortable, but it is still necessary. Yeah, it is frustrating. It is frustrating, absolutely. And a lot of the words and feelings I have in articulating them and verbalizing them admittedly isn't coming easy to me. I'm sure this is very much obvious by my video. I feel frustrated because I'm not always entirely sure how to articulate myself, and I feel like the words that I'm choosing can sometimes, too often I should say, not accurately convey the depths of what it and complexities of what I'm feeling. I feel like I feel the disconnect, and that is what is making it difficult. I'm not sure if this will be understood. I just feel like this vulnerability might help inspire change in those in similar situations. While yes, I may exist within marginalized identities, I still want to acknowledge and need to acknowledge and am acknowledging that I still have privilege even within those identities, within those groups. I'm autistic, but I'm still a white autistic person. What I faced as someone who is white and autistic is not the same as somebody who is black and autistic. Cannot speak to their lived experience, the lived experience of black autistic people, to be fair. Um, but I know that I do not face racism intersected with ableism. And acknowledging that privilege is important. And the ways in which that white supremacy culture, and also, yes, my privilege, can lead to a harmful impact. That is, not, for example, something that I am coming to terms with, and it's not exactly comfortable, and yet it is still necessary for me to acknowledge, especially when it comes to how I am impacting those around me, and people I interact with. And genuinely, I'm struggling to find words to articulate myself, but growth that is sustainable and enacting the changes necessary to be the change you want to see in the world to align your beliefs with your praxis, the ways you actually show up with regards to your beliefs, my own beliefs even, not just being performative and using beliefs to like point the finger at others, but also looking within and recognizing where actions may be harmful or I have engaged or perpetuated in ways that engaged in behaviors that perpetuate systemic harm. That is important for me. I felt, and it is not felt. I still feel that. Not sure why I went past tense with that, but yeah. And I'm hoping that by acknowledging that publicly, it might help others to introspect. Also, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where I was going with that. I lost what I was going to say. It's on the tip of my tongue. Hopefully, this video will be understood or received as it is. I definitely have room for improvement as an individual, and acknowledging that I have not necessarily been showing up in ways that I want to show up in, I feel like that's important. And life repeatedly tests my resolve. Sometimes I do take more of the hanged man approaches in tarot, for anyone who is liking that sort of thing. I know those who watch my channel probably are, as I do often post about my magical and spiritual practice, in addition to my own personal development, and just wherever my life's journey takes me. Hence the hockey's journey of my username. I often post about magical and spiritual things, but the Hanged Man often deals with gaining new perspective and maybe perhaps taking a step back, being patient, and gathering or shifting one's perspective in order to adjust or how they're moving forward in a way that is more aligned. At least is how I see it personally with regards to this situation. And I think that that type of energy definitely fits with how I have been lately, while also holding space for the fact and the truth that I have not necessarily been showing up in ways that I would like. And honestly, I do wrestle with a lot of internalized supremacy culture. That is, I believe I touched on that earlier. Yeah, I do. And I'm definitely fighting the urge or feeling to say things that are inauthentic. Or, how do I put this? Try to be the superhero. Like, it's not helpful. It doesn't help anyone. It certainly doesn't help me, and it doesn't help me to be the change that I want to see in the world. Yes, I want the systems that benefit and rely upon hatred and bigotry and scapegoating and genocide and fascism. I want those to no longer hold power or be the way in which the world operates. These ways of hate, dehumanization, exploitation, and harm, and colonization, and I mean, there are more words to articulate what I'm saying. It's not the tip of my tongue, but I don't like that is the way in which the world has been operating for some time. I really don't. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I feel like even though I may not have necessarily all the answers, I am one person. I have my own lived experiences and perspectives. I can still speak to how I'm feeling and hopefully help others to be less alone. I don't know. Hopefully I am being understood here. But yeah. That was my rambly, trepidatious video. Trepidatiously made video. I'm still nervous. I still feel like I could definitely have room for improvement. But also, even if I had a more put together script, I can acknowledge that, yeah, I may feel nervous and awkward articulating my feelings simply because it has been some time since I have posted, and part of me getting over the hump is me recording and posting, even though, yeah, there's room for improvement. And I recognize that the criticisms I may receive, however warranted or not, may or may not be delivered to me constructively. I'm aware of that. I just feel like it is important for me to begin posting again as I'm able to. I mean, I can't guarantee with me going back to school here soon, but you know what that'll look like. But I feel like there is a benefit to being vulnerable and posting my feelings. And anything worth doing requires an act of courage. And I may very well watch my own video here that I've recorded to reflect on the ways I'm showing up even now or have been showing up. And take things as they go. You know, my beliefs and the ways in which I show up, they are shifting. They develop and change as I grow and experience the world. I mean, there's a lot that I don't know, and I'm okay with admitting that. And there are definitely things I have to improve on. Absolutely. And I hope that I can show up in ways that are helpful towards making the world a more loving place. There's too much hatred and prejudice. It has been deeply ingrained into so many. Certainly, I have a lot of internalized aspects of that, and I see how it shows up in others, and I'm sick of all the fucking scapegoating. I want those who are abusing others and exploiting others and slaughtering others to be fucking stopped and held accountable. I want the systems that have allowed for and enabled such vile conduct to go on for too fucking long. Never should have happened to begin with. It's been going on for too fucking long, and I want them to no longer be the systems under which the world operates. I believe that just because something is the status quo, it doesn't mean it should or even has to remain so. It's hardly an easy process to make new systems or to contribute towards the new systems. I should say, not me. To contribute towards new systems collectively. It's not an easy process. I admittedly have a lot of room for growth and improvement and learning. A lot of that may very well be gained by me going to college, by the way, or school, back to school. Yeah. I I want the world to be a more peaceful and loving place where human life, not just human life, but the value of life, period, in general, isn't dismissed because the individual is less exploitable by the systems that we operate under. I believe that perhaps in time the new system, whatever systems that come up after the one that we're in currently, I'm hoping that whatever new way in operating, ways in which humanity operates, I should say, the new systems will allow for reflection and doing better and accountability, even if it isn't always comfortable. Because so many people have been killed and are currently and have faced and currently face injustices that they never should have. It's not right, and I'm hoping that whatever systems are in place does right by the memory of those who have been killed, whose lives have been lost and taken from them because of war, genocide, greed, fascism, racism, exploitation, colonization, bigotry, ableism, misogyny, transphobia, sanism, the list goes on. I know that not everyone will change. I am also aware of that. And yet, I still feel that and hope for a world in which the pains of the past and the present, anxieties of the future may be a distant memory, where what it was been taking place and is taking place isn't swept under the rug. I don't like it being swept under the rug. I feel like that only allows these problems to fester more. The more that we avoid accountability and shy away from ugly truths because they are just uncomfortable and, you know, absolutely spell out the harm that people are doing intentionally otherwise. I feel like even the villains, so to say, they want to believe they are the heroes, if you will. But it's not always what it is. And acknowledging where one individually themselves, at least for myself, has been enabling and perpetuating harm is important, intentionally or not, or where they have internalized indoctrination that is rooted in supremacy culture, in dehumanization, in hatred, and vile treatment of another living being. I think that's important. Personally, I feel a lot of complicated emotions, and honestly, admittedly, I don't know everything, but still feel it's important to express myself and be vulnerable. Again, this is a long video. I'm surprised if anyone's still watching. Thank you. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, but yeah, feeling a complex range of emotions. My heart aches for all the pain and suffering that people are enduring, the injustices. I know that lives that have been taken aren't coming back, and it hurts. It deeply hurts, and I hope that the systems, ways in which the world operates moving forward, not only allows for accountability and justice, and also is that so that the injustices that have occurred are no longer accepted or permitted or taking place, or the status quo, because so many innocent people, like so many people in general, they absolutely deserve to still be here. Children, families, so many people that have been taken unfairly, unjustly, and been slaughtered. I feel like, in a sense, in many senses, it is owed to them and to the people who are reeling from loss, who are actively going through horrific, like beyond horrific, like terrifying, unjust bombardment and persecution. They deserve better. They deserve better. And I just feel very complicated. This video is going on for a while, and I keep rambling. I honestly, it is difficult for me to express fully what I am feeling, because I also recognize that I am complicit in a lot of the harm, whether I like to be or not, by way of living within the US, within the empire. It's fucking infuriating and exhausting, and I still have to keep going, because giving up would only be what these fascists fucking want. I have a lot of complicated feelings, some of which I'm not entirely sure how to articulate, as you can tell. I'm gonna stop filming. I've been rambling and repeating myself enough and circling. But yeah, thank you for watching. um, Thank you for coming along with me on this part of my journey, on this very vulnerable introspection. And I hope that this has been helpful and insightful. If you want to post about some of your feelings, you can, though, honestly, if what you're comfortable with is simply observing and thinking and processing what I'm saying and what it means for you and how it makes you reflect, whether it's just in your journal, I mean, that's valid too. I just I'm hoping and praying for justice, accountability, and for new systems that don't rely upon persecution and fascism and bigotry and harming and exploiting and hating and scapegoating others, and that don't tolerate it. They don't tolerate treating another living being that way, treating another person that way. One that demands viewing entire marginalized groups, entire people, lesser than. It's and not necessarily for choices, but for simply existing. It's complicated. It's not more than just complicated. It shouldn't be that way. I don't want a world that operates on that. I don't know. I said I'd stop filming earlier, but yeah, bye. Thank you.